Okay, we're good video-wise, Stu? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ware,
Here.
Casanello,
Present?
Bader,
Walking in the door.
Here?
Schneider,
Here.
Ramirez, Morris.
Here.
Okay. Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's an honor to pray with you and for you tonight. Let us pray. Gracious God, we come before you with gratitude, humility, and trust tonight. We are grateful for the freedoms we enjoy every day, humbled by your daily care and provision, and trusting in your promise to guide the affairs not only of this nation, but all nations. We pray today for the brave men and women who serve to protect and defend our nation in the armed forces, and for those who serve to protect our local community and law enforcement, fire and rescue, and all first responders. Merciful God, be close to all who find themselves in harm's way this day. As this body convenes to serve the citizens and businesses and neighborhoods in Haymarket, we ask for your kind providence to be made known through the discussions and decisions set before these, your servants. May each council person be guided by a spirit of compassion, justice, and humility. May they exercise faithful stewardship of the community resources entrusted to their care. Watch over their families and loved ones this day, and protect them from discouragement, from pride, and from the weariness that often accompanies the mantle of responsibility. And so strengthen us all in heart, hand, and mind, that your will may be done on this portion of your earth as it is in heaven. We ask this in the strength of your loving name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, thank you for that. Since you were a little too efficient for me, I didn't have a chance to introduce you, but that was Pastor Don Meeks from Greenwich Presbyterian Church. Thank you for such a nice sermon. Invocation.
Evening, Marshawn.
I guess minute notes. Vice Mayor Pater has joined us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Okay. Next item. I'd like to introduce a presentation of appreciation. Tonight, the town would like to say thank you to a man who has spent countless hours serving his community. Steve was always present at every planning commission and town council meeting, ready to discuss a variety of topics, and always put the people of Haymarket first. The years of hard work, dedication, and passion for the prosperity of the town and its residents have not gone unnoticed. That passion is something that all public officials should strive to emulate. The town also would like to thank Steve's wife, Julie. Thank you for sharing your husband with the town through all the late night meetings, adjusting vacations, and showing up to support the town at all events. Both of you have made a sacrifice for the betterment of the town, and the town is lucky to have you both as residents. Please accept this small token of our deep appreciation and gratitude.
He shaved. He never shaved when he sat up here.
I love it. I love it.
They said we were looking too much alike, so I was like,
Can't have that.
Oh, everyone come in front of the dais and we'll do a photo op.
Oh, God. Do we have to?
Julie, these are for you. Thank you for,
I felt a little breezy. It's actually probably shorter than the other one.
what's the code? BR 549. One, two, three. you,
see ya.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you again. All right, Will, I'll do. Keep trying.
It's 10 after.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Okay. We still on? Okay. We're all set now for citizens' time. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Any emails? Okay, then we'll move on. We got the consent agenda. Do I have anybody interested in pulling any of these reports?
In that case, Mr. Mayor, I'd move the consent agenda, items A 1 through 3, B 1 through 6, and C 1 through 5.
Second.
Okay, I'm assuming we need a vote for this, right? Got to get a little new to this agenda. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll move forward then to the Section 7 agenda items. Police Department recognition.
Let's see him.
I'd like to take this moment to introduce to you our fourth hire for full-time officer and our third hire for part-time officer. Officer Donald Finley started with us just a couple weeks back. He came from us from Winchester City Sheriff's Office, has about 10 years of law enforcement experience, and he is our fourth full-time officer. Then Officer Art Culbertson. He's here part-time helping us out. Art's been involved in law enforcement in some capacity or another since the 80s. And we're very fortunate to have both of these gentlemen here. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Thanks, guys.
Mr. Mayor. I move to issue Officer Anderson. Most of you already know Officer Anderson has been filling in on quite a number of occasions as a part-time officer during the time when we had very limited staff. And at this time, I'd like to move to issue Officer Anderson a bonus of $3,000 paid out of the CARES Act fund.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second that.
Okay, I got a motion and second. Anybody need to, up for discussion or comments?
Yeah, I would like to say, I hope we get a chance to have Officer Anderson come in and,
We'll do it in September, sir. He's on
Okay.
vacation right now.
very good. That's
We
it.
didn't feel it necessary to pull him off this vacation since he already sacrificed a few vacations during his coverage.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. Be nice.
Anybody else? I would like to recognize him as well. His contributions shows his dedication to the town, and it is very appreciative, and this is just a piece of the thank you that we can offer.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sean?
He has not made it to a water balloon fight, so if you could have him, he comes in the neighborhood quite a bit. He's a Marine, so I enjoy talking to him about Marine stuff, about Army stuff, so. But yes, he's always been approachable. Kids enjoy talking with him, so I think it's definitely worth the recognition, so. Thanks for putting this together.
Mayor, may I comment? This should be a roll call vote.
Roll call vote? Okay. Roll call, please.
Lear,
Aye.
Casanello,
Yes?
Pater,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
I guess it's because it's a budget item, right? Okay. Anything else for police department recognition? Okay, we'll move on to the CIP and town projects discussion. Emily, if you could start us off.
Okay, so we are on packet page 42 for the CIP. I wanted to do this item second, so I first want to look at the item that I handed out just at the beginning of the meeting. It's this matrix, the colorful sheet, as well as the report that I gave you. So the report that I gave you is from our town engineer, Katie McDaniel with Christopher Consultants. She took into account the 3 open town projects that we are currently looking to fund and complete, one of which has been a bit outstanding for a while now. Actually, both have been outstanding for a while now. The town park sidewalk as well as the town center site improvements. So what I did to make it a little bit more digestible for council in a quick way is I created this matrix here, and I'd like to go through just this document. You can later read the report and ask questions as they come up. I color-coded it green, yellow, and red in this order for a reason. My first recommendation would be to move forward with the park sidewalk. And the reasoning why, we're getting a lot of citizen outreach. They would like for us, this is a big thing that they have been asking since we put the playground in. When is the sidewalk going to be done? When are we going to have a safe crosswalk? When is it going to connect all the way to the villages of Haymarket Homes, as well as our sidewalk there near Haymarket Baptist? The estimated cost for this project is $605,000. It includes the installation of the proposed sidewalk, an allowance for stormwater, maintenance of traffic, and utility relocation. We already own the right-of-way in that area right along the park. I'm sorry, not right-of-way. We own the land there, and so this is something we would not be having to go in and purchase land. The sidewalk has not yet been designed, though. This is an additional cost, and I have bolded it here in that second line so everybody is very aware. It would be an estimated cost of $60,000 to $120,000. That is in the report. Katie breaks down the reasoning. That would include the design of minor grading, the design of approximately 515 linear feet of sidewalk, and the curb and gutter. With this, it would include our 2 VDOT approved CG11 entrances, and we would need this site plan to be developed and approved prior to the construction. One of the ideas that was discussed and one of the recommendations I have is to proceed with a design build bid package. This is something that the town engineer and myself can discuss and come up with. If I discuss with the town engineer, though, or she helps us with the bid packaging, this will be additional funds from the town engineer line items. So we can discuss that at a further date or a little bit later on. So I would recommend that the council create a timeline to go ahead and start investing in this project, whether it just be the design phase or a design build package. It is my #1 recommendation of a project to go ahead and start this fiscal year. Second project here in yellow is the town hall parking lot and improvements, a little bit of a proceed with caution, if you will. The estimated improvement cost right now is $2 million. I want to bring to everybody's attention, this does not include the building. We did not include anything having to do with the building improvements itself, because once we go and put the elevator in, or if we do a certain level of work, the triggers are a little bit different. This is the lower cost option. that we had discussed to do just the site improvements to get our parking lot fully paved, new asphalt, new design, curb and gutter, the sidewalk, the proper entrances off of Washington Street. This project, if you look in the report that I gave you on page 3, you're going to see a map of the town hall. This is a site plan view. Everything in red would be included in this yellow project here. It does not include the blue turn lane. So Katie made it very clear in the report that this $2 million project would go right to the edge of the beginning of the sidewalk on Jefferson Street, and that is where it would stop. The entry and exit point that would be on Jefferson Street, that would be tied into the turn lane project. So one of the things that I want everybody to note is this item to note right about in the middle of the page. The water and the sewer utility work was removed from the estimated cost to bring the overall cost down, with the recommendation that the work could wait until the building work was completed. If we go about doing the building work in the next few years, that would require us to tear up the parking lot in areas that we just completed work. So that is something to definitely take into consideration and think about. I guess the long-term plan of this building and the elevator and the other additions and changes. So my recommendation for the town hall parking lot improvements is to have council direct myself to work with the engineer to finalize and approve the site plan before anything needs to be done. We do need to have that finalized through the Planning Commission as well as all of our outside agencies. That is something that Katie and I can go ahead and work on. However, I just want to bring it up, when Katie starts working on that again, that is line items from her budget there with engineering costs that cannot be passed through. Those are our expenses. The second recommendation that I had was that the council direct the planner and engineer to put out a bid package by Q1 of 2022. So if we can get everything approved through the Planning Commission and our outside agencies in the coming months, this is something that we can start accepting bids as early as next spring. And then also to work with the town treasurer and the town manager to develop a financing plan for the project with a projected start date Q3, Q4 of 22. Last but not least, the Jefferson Street turn lane project southbound. I just want to clarify, this is the side over here beside Town Hall. Again, looking at page 3 of your report, this is now the blue area that's been called out. That includes the sidewalk, the VDOT approved entry exit point, and the widening of the road all the way to the center of the roadway. So this project is estimated at $590,000. It has in here the work that is included, to include the widening of the pavement at the intersection, to add an 11-foot wide right turn / through lane to designate the existing single lane as a dedicated eastbound left turn lane from southbound Jefferson adjacent to the town hall property. Again, this includes the sidewalk as well as the handicap ramps and the approved entrances. I do want to note, though, this item is underlined. This is very, very important. This is why it's red, because we need to remember this when we're planning. The stormwater quality and quantity treatment for this portion of the project is included with the Haymarket Town Center redevelopment plan. Therefore, our site improvements will need to be constructed before the turn lane work begins or concurrent with the turn lane. So that is, again, that is why it's red. That is why it is third in the lineup, even though the cost is a little bit lower, because those items were included in our site improvements. Again, we do need to finalize and approve the site plan through the Planning Commission and outside agencies. That can be taken care of in our yellow step with our site improvements. And again, I have a recommendation that council direct the planner to work with engineer to work on that approval this coming fall, and then direct the town treasurer and manager to work on funding options for that portion. And then to collectively develop a timeline, staff and council together, of what is something that we could accomplish.
Okay. First off, I'll let you go first, Marchant. Yeah, I have a question, but it might be fetted out by you guys. I'd like you guys to go first, so.
Before I start asking questions, the idea tonight is for us just to Q&A. We're not making decisions this evening. It's simply just to get better information. Okay. On the park sidewalk, the design cost, is that added to the 605, or is that included in the 605?
That is an addition to, and Katie has that called out on page 6 of your report. Design costs are typically 10 to 20% of the construction costs of a project. The design cost for the sidewalk would be in the range of 60 to 120,000, which is not included in the construction cost estimate.
Okay, so we should probably estimate about
About 665 to 725, roughly.
This is good information. Thank you for doing this. The only thing, if it helps run you down, I want to say that there's some additional stormwater next to the Baptist church that was put in with the street project that may benefit. If you guys go out there, you'll see it down in the swale down near the street, that there are some inlets that are there. As I recall, that was done in anticipation of the town park developing, so there may be some cost savings in there for everyone to look at. Do you want to go one by one, or just have us ask her questions on all three?
Can I just jump on what you said, though, for a second?
Yeah, we'll hit the park sidewalk questions
Okay.
first.
Just an important feature on the cost. So as that design gets extended out closer to 100% completion, we'll be able to reduce, I would think, the contingency on that project. So I'm not sure how that would balance out that number, that final estimate. So just keep that in mind, because I think we're running a 30% contingency on this project. That's rather high.
The VDOT requirement that we're talking
Well,
about?
I don't know about, I mean, that's an addition, so.
If you look on the very last page of that report, the back sheet, Katie has run a 30% contingency. You can see her breakdown of the items, and you'll see that she has the 30% contingency included in her 605. Let's round it up and say 606.
So we were talking at the other meeting, at the work session, about VDOT, right? That's an additional cost to this, right?
What do you mean additional cost?
I mean, their construction management and those other issues, right? Isn't that in the?
Well, they include, they have contingencies built every step of the way, instead of Katie just had the 30% contingency for construction.
Oh, it's spread out.
It's spread out, so there's 10 on like design, there's 15 on, so VDOT just has a more detailed contingency sheet to include 30% for construction, and on Katie's, she just has the 30% for construction.
Okay.
That was, to clarify though, that was if VDOT were to manage the project, that was that separate cost estimate? Or
Correct. If we receive the grant and move forward with them doing it, that's where they included all those contingencies, and that's where that additional cost, so instead of it being the 605, which of course this goes up to a possible 725, it went up to 800 and some change, 812, 500, but that was that extra contingencies built in.
That's the real number.
I think there's one more question on the park. So thank you for that. The estimated cost and the design, should we add monies for the site plan as well? How much it would cost to actually develop and submit the site plan? I know we wouldn't pay a fee, but we have to pay an engineer to design the site plan.
Isn't that part of the additional?
That would,
Should be part of the design.
I think that is what Katie has included as part of her design cost.
Okay.
I can clarify that with her. One thing to note would be, I can ask her specifically when that's designed. It's going through our review process as she is reviewing that site plan in particular. That is no longer a pass-through fee amount. When we get her billable hours, that would be something that we charge to the project.
Let me clarify that. Obviously, construction plans could substitute for a site plan, but I guess we would present it. We wouldn't have the consultant necessarily present it. We would probably, the staff would present that. Okay.
Correct.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. On the park.
Yeah, so my understanding is you mean the application site plan to the town?
Right, more often than not, the site plan is just a less detailed version of the final construction plans that have the, what do you call it, the road sections, and they divide it, very detailed sort of plan, but you'll see that sometimes in the site plan as well, so.
And I'm assuming we have contingencies due to conflict of interest. If we do submit this for town approval, we have a backup for Katie to handle the evaluation.
Yes, we would. However, I would also like to add, there's no guarantee that her firm would be the one designing the project. So a lot of times when we put it out to bid, we have several different engineering firms come in, and then council and staff reviews those packages, and it would not be a guarantee, it would be Christopher Consultants.
Okay. And also, I know there was something mentioned at the work session about maybe a turn lane there. Was there any evaluation of any type of extension for a turn lane, or whether we already had a wide enough street to restripe and put a turn lane in?
There was not that discussion at this time when we went through this report. That is something that we can contact VDOT and ask them in regards to restriping or the width of the street.
Can I suggest that when you're done with that, you can even put that in as an option on the design if we wanted to, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on then to the town hall. Any questions for the parking lot for the town hall?
Up again unless anyone wants to.
Well,
Derelict?
I just wanted to go back to the park, just to clarify for everybody, because I'm a little confused tonight. I don't know, that's just me. So we're talking roughly $800K all in for this project, conceivably. Is that correct?
So the way I look at it
Okay.
is we have 606 plus our maximum design estimate that Katie gave us, 120. So if I add that up right, I'm at 726. Correct? So that is the number that I would estimate is 726. Again, she included her 30% contingency. She goes through each of the items. As she did her estimate, she used the VDOT standards as well as Prince William County's updated bonding standards to come up with these numbers and the rough quantities of what would be needed for that sidewalk.
Okay. And the only other concern that I think I heard was that there would be an additional cost to her services, perhaps.
Perhaps let me clarify that with her on her estimate here of the overall management or review, and if that was included in billable.
And then, of course, if it were deemed possible to do a turn lane and we agreed to do that or pursue it, that would add to the cost as well, not just on the...
Maybe, I mean, they've got a striping allowance already in here.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, cool.
But so Joe, what you're suggesting is included in the maximum 120,000 is to include in it a turn lane.
We could, I mean, if we so chose to do so, we could ask that be included in the design, I think,
Correct.
as an option, perhaps.
Is that something that the engineer would do, or they would have to go through VDOT?
That would be something that's part of the bid package that we put out for design. They would coordinate with VDOT to have a meeting with their planning team and determine the appropriateness of a turn lane at that different intersection as well as crosswalks, and that would be all up for discussion with VDOT's team.
But at the end of the day, Martin, we control the roads and the design in town, correct? The age-old fun wild card I love in the charter. If we want a turn lane, we get a turn lane.
So because you're under a population 3,500, you don't have to have control, pay for all your roads. You have control over certain things. You can, for example, rename roads. You can close roads temporarily. You can, take steps with regard to vacating unnecessary roads. But the bulk of the work is done by VDOT, so that needs to be carefully coordinated with them at the very least.
But I mean, with respect to the decision as to whether there is or there is not a turn lane. I know it's kind of a gray area, but
Well, you think about it this way, if you had a private property owner, like the hotel across the street, that put in a turn lane, they had to coordinate that with VDOT as well. So it's really not any different for you all. You need to coordinate that with
I'm
VDOT.
simply saying they can't say no.
Well, they could say no if it doesn't meet their standards.
Okay.
They'd have to be able to point to something in their standards that says, we're not going to maintain that turn lane because it doesn't meet our standards.
But that would fall on us to get that design, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have to do a traffic analysis for any of this?
No.
Okay.
I think that's more what I was getting to, is that they might argue that it's not necessary given the volume, but at the end of the day, if we want it,
Right. If you want it and you're willing to pay for it,
yeah,
and it meets their standards, then you can do it.
okay.
At the time of site plan, we would need to estimate the number of trips based on ITE, right? The planning commission would look at?
We could, I don't know that it's going to be terribly high for a park, but I mean, if it's a question of public safety of people entering and exiting the park,
Well, you could overbuild it, that's never an issue. I guess the other
Yeah.
thing too is we have this gentleman that's interested in the public-private partnership for the park house.
Mhm.
The gentleman that approached us, and so thinking forward, we probably want to make sure we can accommodate any
Foot traffic.
traffic or use of that building as a part of any future agreement.
I know we're going to talk about this at a later date, but I'm showing that we can recover probably somewhere close to 30% of the cost strictly from ARP funds, if I'm reading these line items correctly, somewhere in the ballpark of $250,000.
Emily, I'm assuming you have a comment on the turn lane, or?
I had a question. I just want to clarify, are you guys discussing a turn lane into the park from the Gainesville side? Are you requesting a turn lane into the park when you're coming from Town Hall, so you take the left turn in?
I was thinking eastbound.
Or both?
What were you thinking, Chris?
Initially, when I brought it up, it was coming from Gainesville into the town.
Okay.
We do have a separation there. I think the eastbound is already kind of set.
That's right, yeah, and that's
But,
what I was thinking about
westbound,
eastbound.
if
I
we
wasn't
need-
necessarily thinking about westbound.
Yeah.
The eastbound would be in the middle,
Yeah.
because there's space there.
Yeah, because westbound, you're
But
not
this
going
is
to tie
west-
up traffic
this would
turning
be
in,
westbound.
generally.
I know it's kind of far away, but that's where it's already striped.
Yes.
And I think Marchant maybe can show
This
that.
graphic from last week,
Yeah.
eastbound is already striped out.
Right.
Okay.
That was my greater concern, was on the westbound side, because eastbound, you're just going to turn in. I
Turn
mean,
in, right. I mean, the space is there in the middle
Yeah.
for it. This one is coming from Gainesville, heading west.
Since we already need to touch base with VDOT on what we need to do to get our pedestrian counts for a crosswalk, I will ask them as well regarding if restriping is an option or how this would need to be planned for that specific area.
Just be careful with VDOT and restriping.
And thank you for raising that issue about the crosswalk.
Yes, so, but if you can go back to the crosswalk, is that going to be a part of the design?
Yes, we would have that as part of the design that we're requesting. One of the things that VDOT requires us to do is to show the numbers for having a crosswalk that goes across Washington. We have to have a handicap ramp on both sides so that it is completely accessible, and then we will clarify all of their other standards that would be required with that.
But
That cost isn't in there for a crosswalk, no?
But it was.
I see item 10 that we have pavement marking for the crosswalk, so I will clarify with Katie if
And
that
I
is
think that's a
just
VDOT load.
on the, across the entry point for that crosswalk.
Okay, I guess the question is defining what do we want for a crosswalk, right? I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's just the striping or some kind of light warning sign or signal or something like that as well.
Yeah, that's what I'd like, but I'm assuming that would be added, you'd have to add that on to the costs, because I don't think that's been put in. No safety measurements have been put in.
May I clarify that? The standard safety measures have been put in, additional safety measures. I don't want anybody to
Extra
think we're
safety
not
measures.
building safe. Additional safety measures, and some of the items I believe I've discussed with various council members is, since it is our park and playground, we might look at adding some of those snazzy crosswalks that when you step in them, they light up. It is a much wider point here with the 3 lanes of traffic, but we could look at different safety measures for the kids and families that so often use that area.
And that idea would have to be discussed, because, I would also like rumple strips for wake up, to wake up the drivers that they're entering I'd like a little more than just the flashing lights. I'd like tactile as well as visible, everything else.
Mr. Mayor, about 2 more points and we'll go to the next one. I did note in here that it does have the 5-foot stamped concrete, so we are anticipating that cost savings versus the brick. And then I found my term earlier, the administrative cost of the site plan. So in other words, if we design it, I would assume whoever gets that bid would bring it through the site plan phase, so that way if the planning commission or the council recommends changes to the site plan, that's a contingency we have in that budget so that we can make the amendments to that plan as necessary, so. That's what I
Already
meant by
issuing
my
change
original.
orders,
Okay,
raising the expense.
so on the town hall parking lot, if we're moving to that one, Mr. Mayor, Emily, does this include the 10-foot sidewalk, continuing the 10-foot sidewalk from the edge of the current project to Washington? Or that's something we could, if we don't know now, we can probably.
Can you repeat which area?
So we have the 10-foot, the
Yes,
Connolly
okay.
project, that brings it all the way down to Washington?
That is included on the turn lane portion of the project,
Okay.
not the town center parking lot improvements portion.
I misspoke to you, Joe. I was under the assumption the site plan had already been approved. So I guess we had just done our
We're-
review and just never took it forward.
We're at the very last step. We just need
Okay.
to take it over the finish line.
Gotcha. And then I wanted to also emphasize, there is public space. It's not just the sidewalks. It's also the public space. It better defines that corner. It actually does not allow cut-through traffic in the front anymore. Create some pedestrian walls or some seating walls to separate the park from the street. So there's some other significant improvements that are part of that. The other thing I remember, Emily, is that we had some pervious pavers as a cost-saving measure for stormwater, but who knows how much that concept is now and the utility of it. It was meant to sort of give us some additional LID measures, but that may be something, if that's
It's
still
also
not.
eligible for reimbursal under ARP, though.
What's that?
Yeah.
That is eligible for reimbursal under
Okay.
ARP.
So anyway, I think the point of the site plan is if some of those elements get taken out because it's been on the shelf for a couple of years, that may be some cost savings that we can figure into that, so.
One of the items that Chris and I were looking at, as Mr. Weir just mentioned, with the ARPA funding, is you can do green infrastructure.
Okay.
And so we were hopeful that if we were able to include the green infrastructure that was already designed and planned, that this would be something we could look for reimbursement on.
And I imagine there's some savings since our town engineer, we put the cost into preparing this plan. We would assume our town engineer would then take it through PC approval. So that's all my questions.
To clarify real quick, the town engineer did not create this plan. This plan was designed by Rinker.
I'm sorry, do we still have RDA as on contract, or we have
No,
to?
we have Christopher Consultants is our contracted town engineer. So Katie works for Christopher, and then RDA developed this plan for the site improvements.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Do we still have RDA on contract to finish it out, or will we have to renegotiate that contract?
It's been a while.
Too long.
It's been ongoing. It was still ongoing when I got here in the fall of 2017, so we can touch base and see where that contract's at.
Unfortunately, we may have to
Renegotiate.
renegotiate that as well, so thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. That's all I have on this one.
Chris, you have something for
Yes,
this
sir.
one?
Emily, thank you for putting this together. On the town hall parking lot improvement, what's the cost for the water and sewer utility work?
I'm working on
Am I missing it? Is it
The
on this?
water and sewer utility work she removed from the estimated cost because that was triggered with our building improvements and the different water and sewer hookups for the building. I can ask her what that estimated cost would be.
So it was removed because it would trigger the work on the building.
That is correct. So with the building, I do not want to toss a number out and misquote it, but with the building, there was to be improvements to this room, all of the town offices. The PD portion was already done. That renovation took place several years back, but the rest of the building was not complete. It also was going to allow for an elevator to the second floor. That elevator would have come in on the back, so that would have changed our building design layout. We would have had to also modify some of the restrooms. Sewer and water hookups would have been modified as well, and that's where she took this cost out.
Okay, so is there any way to include, not the work for it, but the utility side of it, the
The
Can you
portion
stub the
so that we
lines?
don't
So you don't
have
have
to tear
to-
up the
yes.
parking lot. Let me ask her what that estimated cost would be.
should be able to put in a stub line, you would think. That also anticipates that we're actually gonna do all of that work. Is that, and that's another question.
But it's just planning ahead too. If future council decides to do that down the road, at least they don't have to dig up what,
Yeah, we should put the utility stubs in.
Right.
Just so that you can access it if need be, but, you don't have to connect them.
exactly.
At least
But I think
welcome
it's
to the
worth
building.
looking into just to be able to have it done, so we don't have to disturb what this plan is calling for.
Let's stub it out to the,
No, up to the building.
yeah, but I mean, from the building to the edge out
Utility,
there, and
yeah.
then connect it out there, so we'll tear up the public road first, right?
No, we just have it all connected and ready to go. You just tap into it when and if you ever make use of the utilities within the building redesign.
Right.
So it's just capped here at the building.
Yes.
So we're talking about that storm tech system?
Well, that's included in
No,
here.
we're talking about
Just
the
the sewer.
water and sewer hookup to Prince William County Service Authorities. We're already hooked up currently, but it would be an improved hookup for the building improvements.
So additional capacity.
Yes.
If we need it.
It's a larger meter and.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's.
And so one of the items.
Huh?
Is that going to mean a tap fee? Sorry to interrupt you.
That's what I was just about to say. One of the items that she's going to estimate for us is that would be most likely an additional permit fee through Service Authority, potentially a new tap fee if we're changing the pipe size that we're connecting to. So she can roughly estimate that for us as well.
And that's what we use to compare it against cutting it all up and digging up the new
Yes.
pavement area.
So I guess that leads to the other question. Are we still wedded to the original overall reconstruction of this building, or are we looking for something lesser?
May I add one comment to that, if you don't mind? One of the other things that the previous council also did was they were interested in making some improvements on the property and doing what we could with the funding we could at the time. And so thus, the building was painted, the additional fake gable was put on over the PD portion. So some of the facade changes that were included in the original building improvements would also no longer be there, but we might still need to do them anyway because of the changes on the interior.
Yes, and I'm hoping that future councils would just stick to one plan and just keep it. That's my personal opinion. I'm not advocating for anything but my opinion.
So,
That we would stick to just the plan of keeping this as town hall, since we've gone ahead and invested in the last few years in redesigning our police department, restructuring things inside this building, redone things outside to make it at least look good, presentable as a short-term fix.
Yeah.
So, eventually we would get to the point of triggering the elevator use and getting this building up to
Right. And
standard.
in that discussion, we're kind of doing a little bit of scope creep here, so let's just focus on what we got here.
I want one clarification, because I hope I didn't mishear you. Did I just understand you to say that we spent money, the town spent money on a facade redesign and construction that we may ultimately have to tear out?
Not that you would ultimately have to tear it out.
Okay.
However, just real quick aside, if you were to do the improvements that are currently planned for the inside of this portion of the building, you would remodify the office that the DMV Select is in, and you would get rid of the door that you currently enter in. Thus, you would have to modify your facade and go into a single one entry exit point for the municipal building.
Mhm.
Okay.
So yes.
But nothing with respect to the,
No.
okay.
Not
No,
the eaves, you're talking windows and doors, bricking them in versus.
Right.
Because that's the way I interpreted that comment.
Yeah.
I apologize.
And Mr. Mayor, it's not necessarily that we're moving outside of the scope, but it does tie into what we could set up for future councils.
Yeah, it does, but we're starting to talk about monies that we're not even going to focus on in the next couple years. I mean, what you're saying is true. We want to make sure that we create a plan that's going to be able to flow through, and we're not just wasting money making plan after plan. But right now, our focus is strictly the parking lot. So I just want to try and move this meeting faster than normal.
I'm sorry to point to your point, the site plan does not, leaves open that space. It leaves it as green space where we would expand it, so we wouldn't have to go back in and tear those improvements out. So I think there's a cost savings there. Does that make sense? That we're designing around potentially a future addition, so that if we do come in the future and want to do that, we're not having to change the parking or anything else like that, because we've already anticipated or already reserved that area. So,
All you would have to do if you want to go back in later is tear up the pavement itself to lay the pipe and hook up the pipe and then repave. So you'd have a patch in certain areas. It's not ideal, but that's all she was kind of getting at. But I will talk to her about that estimate.
Okay, moving on to the turn lane.
I'll start again if that's okay. We already talked about the sidewalk. I guess one question is the waiver for the distance. So you have sort of the suburban, I forget the term of the VDOT, but you have sort of your urban standards and you have your suburban standards. So for this tight intersection, I know we had to get waivers to do the center line, turn lanes, to stripe along Washington Street. Do we know that we have to have the 110 feet, or is there another one that's less that still has the same efficiency?
I will need to clarify that with VDOT.
Or see if something Katie might recommend. I assume the ones out here are about 100 feet. But I'd just be curious as if we have to design at that distance, or if there's some other design that fits that's not as material heavy.
Does this factor in a change in the stoplights that Rick was talking about?
Let me get back to you on that.
I would assume it doesn't, since the stoplights themselves can be a $500,000 on their own.
That was the concern of county transportation, I believe, was having to get, we could no longer use that single mast, correct?
That was county transportation's immediate
Interpretation.
answer
Yeah.
to the question.
I would think that would have to be assessed, right? and looked at.
Yeah. And they were pretty adamant that
But
the
they were
single
just,
mast wasn't gonna work.
Piling it on just to see what the number looks like.
Could be.
I assume they have going back to my earlier question, they have real traffic, real-time traffic counts for this intersection from recent studies, I imagine.
No,
What's that?
no,
No? Okay.
not for Washington, not for Jefferson Street, I don't believe.
I could see that dictating the lane distance based on volumes at the
Now,
intersection.
it was the intersection design and the turn lanes that, if I understood the conversation correctly, it was the design with the addition of the turn lanes made it such that a single mast turn signal was no longer a viable option.
Okay.
Emily?
Can I ask a clarifying question to Marchant? Are you requesting information on could we make a shorter taper, thus redesign the project, or to save costs? Because if we have to spend additional monies on redesign, would we not want to keep with the 100-foot taper?
Okay, that's a good point. My earlier point was there a cost savings and not have to go with the distance, but if we've already designed at the 100, then I see your point.
I was just trying to clarify.
No, I see your point.
Is
If we've designed the town center plan to accommodate the 100, then
Since it's
Yeah, I'd take
already
my-
included on that page 3 plan, we have it going all the way back. If you actually look, the project we just finished has the very edge of it
oh, so the
already
Conway
in
project,
there.
probably the right way to call it. That's already anticipated it, so okay, good point.
Yeah,
And it's already got the taper in, so,
Okay.
I mean, the design is there.
since we have that, design cost.
Thank you for that clarification. I take that comment back.
Yeah, and when it comes to the dual pole system, I think a lot of people would probably appreciate that strictly because if you pull up too far on that street already, you're too busy looking like this, trying to see the light. So I have a feeling VDOT will probably say go to a two-pole system. So, yeah, add your 500,000 to it. Any more questions?
And then we just wanted to go ahead and, now that Emily discussed all the technical and planning aspects of it, we wanted to go into the financing options as well.
Okay, Roberto?
Good evening, Council. I handed you a report. It's pretty much a snapshot of the town finances currently. As you can see, I was trying to make it as easy to read as possible. With the upper portions, those are the 1,977,241 is pretty much cash on hand that the town has. You can see this different accounts that we are currently holding with these funds. Below that, you'll see the 30% reserves, what it would take by removing the 30% reserves, and the operational funds, which would leave us with the unrestricted funds or cash in hand that we could spend right now currently, with the unadjusted, and I'd like to comment, the unadjusted, unaudited surplus for this year included in this of $744,795. The accounts below, just to give everyone a perspective of what funds we do have, are funds that are restricted. One is the escrow account. Those are for escrow amounts that the town holds for contractors or any other developers. The historical fund, which is a fund that the town had accepted in 2019, I believe, that had a concern with the upkeep of the streetscape when it comes to the benches, the plats on the light poles, and I believe some streetscape. The CARES Act funds, this is the one that's carry over what's left over, which we originally received last year, that we have up to the end of this year to spend. And of course, our ARP funds. This is the first tranche that we received. As you can see there, the town is holding $1,128,687 of funds that we are dedicated to a specific fund. Below, just to also give you an idea, this is something Jerry and I had created a while back for the council back then, just to show you what the amounts would look like if we did not hold a reserve fund. And that's just more for you guys can see that. So with these funds, I don't know if anyone has specific questions on it. Is it making sense? How it's laid out?
Well, quick question. So last time we talked about, I know it's nominal, but the monies that the not Payne Lane, Light Drive.
Yes.
Gorman project, that is wrapped up in the general account, I would imagine?
Yes, that would
Okay.
be actually in the escrow account as deferred. It's in there, in
Okay.
that lump sum, correct.
Oh, thanks.
Okay,
Just before we move on.
Yes.
Roberta, are we are we by law we must have certain amount of reserve funds?
so the recommendation actually came from VMO VACO back, I believe in, not sure, I think during Brian Henshaw's time. Actually, I'm not sure, I can't speak to
Before
that.
then,
Before then, usually a 15% reserve is what's been mandated to hold. The town, because of the size, they did 30%. As you can see with last year's COVID, it's a good thing we had it. We were lucky that we didn't have to dip into it, but it's just a number that they have chosen, and the town has always maintained a 30%.
I guess my question is, are we required by law to have a minimum of 15%?
No,
It's just a suggestion.
suggestion.
Okay. But it would be wise to have at least 15%, especially, I think that came from our auditors.
Yes, correct.
That is correct, because by law, we can't spend more than we bring in. So if at the end of the year, we didn't have a balance, we would have to take out a loan to cover it.
And to clarify, Roberto, if you would, the reserve percentage, that's based on what number? The budget? The budget number?
The overall, the 1,977,000.
No, but I mean, when we say 30% of something, right? It's 30% of the acting budget or the approved
the
budget?
annual budget.
Annual
Annual
budget.
budget,
Yeah.
right, okay, just to clarify.
Mhm.
Right. And so that would fluctuate, I would
Yes,
expect.
it does fluctuate.
Right, so we would probably have to increase that reserve at times when we increase our overall budget, when we do amendments or what have you. Or if we reduce it, conversely, we could reduce that as well. Okay.
Somewhere between 15% to 30%.
So I guess one of the questions that we'll have to consider, and this is good, thank you for putting this together, what are we comfortable at? What percentage for reserves?
If you guys
Yep.
bear with me a bit.
Yep.
So the reason why I started off with this is because it led to the letter that you guys have received, of the engagement letter that we received from VML VACO, Steve Milroy and Tyler Bryant. So on Friday, the town manager and I did have a Zoom meeting with the representatives from VML and VACO, basically who are financial advisors for municipal localities. The engagement letters pretty much sums it up, is that they would be able to take our information, give us a credit report, and also kind of give us a plan laid out as to how, if we wanted to attack certain capital projects, how to fund it. Give us an idea of how to make these projects happen, how much money we need in hand, if we are holding too much reserves. These are all type of items that they could report back to us, and that is part of the reason why we had met with them. I believe in 2016, they did a similar report. And after we received the engagement letter, I did request Steve to explain as to why the cost back then was $2,500 versus the report now, as you guys saw, was $8,500 with a $2,500 grant that would bring it down to $6,000. Which he informed me that back then they were actually doing services with the town. Currently, they're not really handling anything with the town other than just the VML account. So the prices did go up. And this report is pretty on par to the competitors. But there would be that 25. So essentially, we would be paying $6,000 out of pocket for this study and report back to us. That would give us a better idea when it comes to the funding.
Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that we put this financing stuff on the meeting for the work session for the end of the month, because I haven't had a chance to go through it fully. I kind of took a glance at it this morning. I would note this, however. This is not the first time these folks come to town, and I can very distinctly remember them standing right there and making a similar presentation about 10 years ago, and the crux of it was you can borrow as much as you want because you can raise taxes as much as you want. So you can afford anything you want. Now, I don't want that level of financial advice.
I would ask council to actually review the document that was submitted to town council in 2016. I can't speak to that experience because I wasn't there, not aware of it. But if you review, I sent you guys an email earlier today, so you guys can look at the work that they presented before, where they reviewed the locality surrounding, they provided the credit rating, and then based on that, that's just like Roberto said, how much reserve would be optimum for us to hold, options for loans, if necessary, different things like that. So they just bring a financial input and expertise that the town alone can't provide. So I think when we're talking about what to do with all these different projects and how to proceed, it would be beneficial to have experts come in, look at our stuff, and give council some options.
Like I said, can we move that to the work session?
What is that, for the 23rd?
20, whatever.
So the goal, if,
Yeah, what kind of time frame do they need a turnaround for that?
so that's if,
Regular end of the month work session.
if we had already gotten a commitment from them that if we could move forward with a not to exceed of 8,500, they would be able to complete this report by the 23rd. So you'd have it for the ARP discussion.
All right, I'd like
I
to
want to
review
see,
it.
huh? I want to read it first.
I'd like to read it myself.
I'm not ready to make a decision on that tonight.
But we can still do a placeholder of options, right?
Well, so they need 3 to 4 weeks to be done. So if you guys are going to talk about the plans, it'd be 3 weeks. If we got it today, made a motion, it would be 3 weeks before the August 23rd meeting. But if all you guys are going to do is prioritize that, I just wanted to give you guys, it's 3 to 4 weeks of them to get that stuff accomplished. So if we wait until the work session, it wouldn't be done until the September work session. So just depending on how soon you guys want to move forward with the park sidewalk, but I'm sure staff can figure something out to move the projects forward before we have that full comprehensive list.
Yeah,
In my evaluation.
yeah, I think we'll probably make a decision on this next time around. We'll just use this as an option in our discussions on the 23rd, because we may not even need to take this up, because I'm assuming that what this does is this directs us to the capability of what kind of loan we can come up with, right?
Well, it's just like we spoke about, it's
Yeah.
options. It's optimal for reserves, just like Councilman Morris said. Should we have 15%? Should we have 30%? Do we need 5%? What is the optimum level for the town? Then loans is an option, because as you can see with the town hall parking lot improvements being $2 million, we don't have that anyway. You swing the budget, it's not there. So it's one of those things to give you guys options on which ones you want to do, how many projects you want to accomplish. So it's the options. So, and just if it's going to be discussed at the work session, that means it would be voted on at the September meeting. So then that would be October before we really got results. So I just laying all the timelines out for you guys. This is just something we had talked about last week, so we were able to get that quote to you guys pretty quick. So, but please do look at the 2016. They did the full comprehensive list, so you guys can review that, and then you've got the price. Like I said, I would just ask that we do a not to exceed 8,500. And then, because we don't know how long it would take to get the grant, so we don't know if that's an immediate or if that's a couple months after. So this way we don't have a hang up for getting the document.
Would that,
Everybody good with,
yeah.
I personally don't like to be in a bind to make a decision on the spot. I'd rather wait and not have the information on the 23rd.
Okay.
And then on the 23rd or the end of the month work session, then make a decision and have, if the council so desires, for them to then take their 3 weeks and bring the information back to council.
No, absolutely. You guys had just asked for this information
Yeah.
on Monday, so it's just, we can't get it done in a week, and it takes 3 to 4 weeks for them to actually do it. So we did get the meeting done, and we got this information to you guys in a week. So that was the main focus.
Yeah.
And then we just tried to kind of see if they could get it done by the 23rd, if that so was your option. But like I said, we just did what we could, and now.
No.
you
I
guys-
appreciate you guys working on it. It just puts us in a bind in making a decision to write a check for $8,500. So I just think it's good to exercise wise judgment in waiting.
Absolutely.
Just real quick, I wouldn't take this as a criticism, us challenging that. I mean, you guys, compared to where we were last week, I think you guys have done a great job. And you've really primed us to have the discussion later on in the month. So us waving some of this stuff off, I wouldn't take as a criticism. It's just we're able to have this information in our hand earlier rather than later. So I have a higher level of comfort being able to discern between the projects. So good work, I appreciate it.
Is, in that one clarifying question, is there anything else that you guys would like for the 23rd meeting for additional discussion? Of course, we do have the questions that will get clarified from Katie, but in addition to that.
Just, we had talked last week, if there's some initial recommendations on how much, do we want this council, how much we use from ARP, or how much we can use of ARP, if there's some initial screening of that sort of allocation, that might be helpful to have.
Yes. That makes sense.
And then Roberta, if you have any, and Emily, if you guys have some initial recommendations on how we may allocate these. You already have your top priority project, so something that corresponds to, how much would you recommend we use out of some of the operational funds, or how much out of ARP, sort of a decision matrix. If that's not a lot of work, if just something that's sort of a very high level view.
Joe and I are already ahead of you.
Okay.
Joe?
I think for the next meeting, that would be very good information, that whole ARP issue. But Roberto, this is good. I would recommend that we get rid of the no reserve policy, right, on this assessment. We just cross that off, and maybe we go with a 30% and then show a 15%.
Yeah.
And have that available. That might be helpful for our discussion.
Because there's absolutely no way we're going to go with a zero. So just give us an option. This is good, though.
And in the meantime, I'll take a look at this and we'll talk some more about it. If you have any questions.
Okay, everybody good? Okay, let's move on to the part-time job description.
Yes, sir. You guys have the community coordinator and the part-time maintenance worker. Right now, the maintenance worker, Mr. Burrows, he is a Longstreet and Haymarket resident. He came in when Thomas no longer wanted to do the street cans, so he's really been coming in and helping us keep the street cans clear. He's started tracking how many cans are full regularly, kind of the dates that are full, helping us switch out some different lights and signage, things like that. He's going to start Wednesday. We've already got National Night Out, getting the trash after the event. He's going to start doing little things too, like sweeping the parking lot in the back here, screws, wires, nails, just trying to collect all that so the police vehicles don't run over any metal object from somebody dumping in the back of the dumpster. It happens from time to time, but this way we just try and protect what we can. So that's just something that we've already been moving forward with, but we've really been focused with him on trash and just kind of clean up. But, if you guys want to make any amendments to these job descriptions, then that's where we'll make adjustments. But yeah, so if you've got any questions or concerns or would like edits seen in any of these, please let me know.
Yeah, I do. I have a couple questions. All right. Since we're talking about the maintenance worker, just to clarify, so this is a 0.5 FTE. He's on our payroll.
It's not even 0.5. Right. It's less than that because it's only right now it's about 15 hours a week.
All right, but it says 15 to 20, so we might assume that it'd be.
It depending on the workload, but that's where it would.
0.5.
Yeah. Okay. Is this and so you're anticipating this person? What functions other than the garbage? And are you still thinking about snow removal? Are you thinking about the flags? Are we going to
all the responsibilities that are listed on there?
All right.
So yes, I mean it would include banner work, touch-up paint on different poles that may have been, slightly damaged, the snow removal, things like that we discussed. Yes, all that's included.
Okay, so I'll go through this again with a little bit more of a fine tooth comb and see where there may be some holes or if not. The community relations coordinator, I mean, so this person, I'm gonna go back to the maintenance worker. This person's on the payroll. The anticipation is that what we were paying for Thomas will somewhat cover the cost of this, but there are
Correct.
other costs associated with this that would be higher than what we paid for
So
Thomas.
Are we talking about the maintenance worker
Yes,
again?
the maintenance worker.
So that's where you look at the different price savings between, taking the military banners down being $900 to $1,000, or replacing all the HVAC filters. If we use a contractor, it's $2,300, where if we were to buy those same filters ourselves and have Matt do it for us, we would save a substantial amount of money. That's where, so yes, there will be additional costs in addition to Thomas, but I think at this point in time, with the amount of work and trash that we have and the buildings that we have, it's been far too long that, we're waiting on contractors to come in a week or two later to get this stuff done, instead of being able to have somebody come in 2-3 times a week and really, keep the town looking good. So that's kind of the focus.
All right. And then the community relations coordinator. So I'm not sure we budgeted for this in our annual budget, so,
That would be taken care of in the part-time position.
okay. So that would be covered in the part-time line item.
Yes.
Okay, and I have a question I wrote. How does this mesh with EDS services? So when we were talking about Miles in that proposal with Miles, how is this position going to mesh with what Miles is proposing to do on the marketing side?
So that's where you're going to need somebody on the social media accounts. You're going to need somebody, on the social media accounts advertising the different businesses. So if somebody's hiring, if somebody's having a sale, if somebody's doing an event, Cookies and Cream does an event, Ethel's was hiring the other day, like those are the types of things that the coordinator, the part-time community relations coordinator, would be getting out on social media to help post.
So just to clarify for my edification, so this person's going to be doing all of those functions. They're also going to be working, I guess, somewhat coordinated with what we might do with Miles with, how about the hotel and that tourism MOU that probably we need to revisit in the future? I have some comments about that, but we can wait for that. So is that person going to be helping coordinate those efforts? This person? Have you thought,
So, that's something that could be added. So right now, based on what this council wants with the business roundtable that started that we hadn't had before, with the social media presence on Instagram, Facebook, and now Twitter again, as well as regularly updating the website, doing all these things just to accomplish those goals, we need extra staff. So that's really the first and foremost. We need to get in and regularly do that. We had Sam here that's helped us a lot, and Abdullah as well, but that's kind of a college and high school intern.
Right.
They were here for a couple weeks, and they're leaving here in 2 weeks, and we won't have them anymore. So you guys will see a significant drop in the amount of social media and website presence because we just don't have enough time to get out there as much as they are able to. In between different things, they'll be able to knock it out real quick and do something. So if we want that presence to be out there, we're going to have to dedicate some time and effort into it. And that's where I think this position can help, as well as help Emily with the events, the farmers market, the concerts, the breast cancer walks, the national night outs, all these things that we want. It's taken away from the other stuff, and the quality of these high-level conversations we're having is because in the middle of Emily trying to do this, she's got to talk to farmers market vendors or Haymarket Day vendors.
well, yeah,
So-
I was going to ask, is this really to help relieve you of some of those responsibilities? That's my
Yeah.
basic question.
Yeah, it's to accomplish council's goal, ultimately.
So then you can focus on more of the planning stuff. Correct? Yeah, okay.
You done, Joe?
No, but go ahead. I'm fine.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's more of a partnership with Miles and a connector for our businesses and to be a relief for our staff. So I think that we could probably add just a little bit more description to what the person would actually be doing.
And so, just to clarify, for this position, for 15 to 20 hours a week, I do think this is pretty descriptive. Now, if we want to go above and beyond that, 32 hours a week, 36, something along those lines, then I do agree that we may be able to add some more stuff. But just do look at the responsibilities and just make sure that you think, you know, it could be accomplished in 20 hours. Because I know the current workload with the events and everything that we've got now, it's already a lot. So, I mean, Emily can attest to it. So it's not for the faint of heart what we've got right now. So not even adding anything new, just the daily, you know, social media posts and everything, of course, but then just the events. That's
And it would be more live action too,
Right.
like more present.
Well,
in the moment.
I can see Samantha, her work in the last couple of weeks. It's been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I love it. So thanks Samantha for that, and staff for allowing her to do that. I think it's important part of the communication. But I also note that here, for this position, we're talking about a bachelor's required. I mean, are we also considering
You're stealing my thunder.
some
It's all right.
equivalent
It's all right,
experience? Because I'm not sure for a part-time position that somebody with a bachelor's.
well, so we also, remember, this is somebody that's going to help facilitate Haymarket Day and help facilitate these big events and have to talk with the different vendors and have to talk with the different sponsorships and have to talk with all that.
My question goes to attracting somebody that's going to be willing to, you know, work part-time, unless they can cobble together some other employment elsewhere. I mean, with a bachelor's degree, I would think
Is an
somebody's looking.
associate's degree sufficient, or somebody that's
or similar
somebody that's working towards their degree? I
Right.
mean, I agree. I think it's a little bit too high of a bar.
I wouldn't want to miss out on the opportunity. And I know that I'm good at what I do based on my experience,
Right.
not necessarily my degree.
I mean, it's
So I
great.
I can amend that to say or education equivalent,
Experience.
which would be, you know, what, 4 years, 5 years experience?
I'll leave that up to you. And
I would
Vice Mayor.
prefer though.
Thank you, I'm good.
Everybody else good?
Overrated.
I guess what further action do we need to do on this?
Yeah, what further action are you looking for? You looking for approval for this, or?
Well, this is just something that in discussion, Councilman Passanello wanted to make sure that council discussed this as a whole, and you guys had the opportunity to speak on it.
Yeah.
So that's really, as long as you guys are okay with it, I'll make the one edit. And then if you guys want, I can move forward with it this week so we can try and have somebody in place to help out with some of these events, specifically the community relations coordinator. Or if you guys want, you know, I can wait till like Friday and you guys can submit any edits that you may want so I can change it and then I can post it next week.
Can I just ask, were these discussed at the work session? Like, I feel like our work session is good. This is just my opinion. I feel like our work session is good, but I feel like I come to council meeting and I'm not blindsided. That's not a good word. But like, these are things that could have been hashed out a week ago, and then a decision could have been made tonight. But it seemed like we're working backwards. Help me understand.
I sent the community relations coordinator 2 weeks ago in my manager's report, and I asked for any questions or comments.
Yeah, but-
And Councilman Passanello had asked if the maintenance worker position had been completed, and if you guys could discuss it in a meeting. And I didn't have the maintenance worker position done, because that was the immediate, we had to find somebody to try and start collecting the street cans. So I was able to finish the maintenance worker, and I put it on the very next meeting for you guys to discuss.
I think for me, I'm more looking at, if it was in the manager's report 2 weeks ago, should it have been on the work session agenda to hash out, along with everything else, with these two other positions?
Truly, we're looking at a courtesy here for us, because in reality, you know, the town manager has the authority to, I guess, organize his structure in a minimal sense, as long as it's not impacting the budget, right? Right now, from what I've heard tonight, there's no budget impact. Now, it's a courtesy for us to be aware of how the organizational structure is going to change a little bit. And when we do start to get down into these 36 hours, yeah, that's when it becomes a decision for us to go, yeah, the qualifications are there. But I think truly this is being a courtesy measure by the town manager?
Well, I mean, okay, my comment is, and I agree with Bob, we were just having a sidebar here, and the maintenance individual is probably the most critical at the moment. I mean, that has to be addressed right away.
It's a replacement position,
And
essentially.
and it's essentially a replacement with some incremental cost increase to it. I think, from my perspective, I think we do need this kind of a position. I mean, I was shocked that the previous council eliminated that position on July of 2018 after it was fully budgeted, right? It was in the budget for that next year, and it was eliminated after the first meeting of the new council, which was very disturbing. And I think we've suffered somewhat for it ever since. However, we're going to be talking about organizational structure and strategy on the 23rd, as well as the ARP money, and how does this all tie into each other? And my only thought would be is we should have that discussion and go through it together and talk about how it fits organizationally and where we're looking to go in the future. That's my only thought on that.
Bob?
To address both Chris and Joe, I mean, I view these things slightly differently. The maintenance guy, that's just a replacement position. Yes, we're changing the task order a little bit in the services, but that's already a budgeted position, and, you know, if it's going to cost incrementally more on that line item, but it's going to save us on some of the other contracts we've got where it's pretty nearly a wash, kind of mocks me out. Let's be done with it and get it over with. We need the services. With respect to the other position, strictly from a standpoint of what we need to do and what we need to authorize, that is the addition of an FTE that's not currently within the budget or listed as an FTE or half an FTE in the budget. So yeah, I think we will have to take an action to actually approve that. Do I wish we had done it, discussed it last week so that we could initiate it this week? Yeah, that would have been my preference, but, you know, I don't see waiting a couple of weeks as being a make or break, although I don't think there's a need for it to be somebody with a BA personally. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not discussing whether the positions are not needed.
Your question,
They are. I believe, and especially what Joe said, yeah, it's just proper discussion on them, because I feel pressured to make a decision at a council meeting when I don't think we should need to. So it's like the work session is the place to hash things out and get to the bottom, the pros, the cons, discuss everything. I feel like, and again, this is just my opinion, when we get to council session, we should have already hashed out and gotten the different views and think about the other aspects and angles of it that we never thought of. But I just feel like this popping up at council session, it doesn't, I don't know if we can change it. I don't know if we can change the format a little bit, because it's not the first time that I've gotten, and I look back on my notes for work session, and then when I compare it to council session, they're different. There's so many things that's there. And again, it could be my fault in not having the time that Bob and Joe have, you know, to go through everything. You know, because they're the ones responding to every emails. Yes, got it. Yes, got it. Yes, receive. You know, and like, man, these guys work. So it's.
Wait a minute. When's the last time I responded to an email?
It could very well be just my fault in not having the time or not prioritizing. So I just wanted to see if there is something we're missing, if I'm at fault, or, you know, we could, because I don't feel like this is a place to do serious discussions about it, hashing it out.
I was actually agreeing with you, Benedicto.
Let's kind of get organized here. I agree. We are in a time constraint. We're trying to, you know, prepare for this 23rd meeting in which a lot is going to happen. And so this was just raising it up so that it can also be discussed. No decision is going to be made tonight, at least on the PR position. The other position, like we said, it's just a replacement. It's a common courtesy. Roberto, you're on the line first.
Yes. Council, I just want to make it a correction there. I'm sorry if I have to correct you here, but the maintenance position is never budgeted. what was budgeted was the street cleaning. We had a employee who had worked for the town for a long time, Mr. Thomas Richards, who did the cleaning, solely street cleaning. This maintenance position, in discussion with the town manager, yes, we need a street cleaning person. And the maintenance position, we were thinking of working within the part-time budget we currently have. But it was not a budgeted position. It's not replacing a budget position because Thomas, all he did was do the trash pickup. What we're looking for now with Mr. Boros, is that he's also doing some of the handiwork that we would usually contract Premier Landscaping to do the banners and stuff. I just want to make it clear, that it's,
And just so you know, and the staff knows, I think we are gearing up to go to a full-time position with one or two assistants. That's how I see it. So I'm not in opposition to it at all. I think the maintenance is going to say that department or that sub-department that eventually will be formed is going to save the town a lot of money over the long run. So for me, it's more discussing it from the back end as you catch the vision of, okay, what's the council thinking of? Because there are council members who have been here. Bob has been here 32 years. So there are council members who are here who have this.
Been here 32 years.
They have this institutional knowledge to know what it used to be 10 years ago, what it used to be 5 years ago, and maybe that could help in the discussion as you guys put together the proposal to then start thinking, okay, what does the next 5 years look like? And again, my personal opinion is the next 5 years, we're going to have a fully staffed maintenance department. I think that's the direction that we need to go. But in order to get there, I'm just talking about how do we hash out these things before and not doing it at a council meeting. So that's why I raised the point.
You had a question, Marshawn?
Just a general statement. So I think a lot of this is managing expectations. I've talked to Chris before about the ability to put some sort of intro paragraph to these. I think when it comes out, it's just an item. There's not a lot of explanation. I think my nephew just proposed to his fiance. That's what I'm about to find out, but I have to tell him no. I'm at a council meeting.
Is that an agenda item?
It's not an agenda. There's no warning.
He's not going to do a reveal with Tannerite like somebody did on
He's
the
a
mountain
Navy
the other
pilot,
night?
so he's a good guy. Anyway, so the challenge we had before with the amount of information, I talked to Chris about the amount of information we're asking them to produce and put out, there's not always time to do that. However, what I would say is if there is an ability, even if it's one paragraph, I'm including this description of the streetscape to begin the conversation. So it sets the expectation, so you know coming in, we're not expected to vote on it tonight. It's simply saying tee it up. Would that be helpful, I think, to the council, to some sort of one paragraph statement, here's why it's here, here's what's included, and maybe that will help manage expectations. So if there's time. I know before we talked about it, just the volume that they're being asked to get out. So that might be helpful.
So that's why I just wanted, we will do that at town council meetings instead of sending emails to all of council to ask for questions beforehand. I'll do the paragraph and put it at the work session. You guys can discuss it there.
Or even take your email and
Well, because that's where I
Get it
did. I
too,
sent the
yeah.
email and just asked for any questions, and that's where Joe was the only one that had asked to bring it to a town council meeting. So that's what we did. But if that's not what council wants, please let me know, and I will adjust and do what you guys want.
No, I think the way that you're doing it is fine, but you think about it. In the last month, you have some council members that have been here, and instead of just the 3 sessions per month, they've been here more than that doing additional stuff, whichever departments or subcommittees that they serve in. So I think it is also necessary. The emails are good, but I think it's also necessary bringing it up, putting it on the work session, because the work session agenda item is very small.
So
At the work session, there's not even a place there to ask Emily about anything that is there.
Well, so I want to ask for clarification, because when you guys first took over, it was my knowledge that if there was something related to business, I would talk to Vice Mayor, and Vice Mayor would disseminate to council. If it was something about finance, I would speak to the finance liaisons, and they would disseminate to council. If it was PD,
or, you know, Jake had something with PD that he would discuss with you, you would disseminate to council, and then kind of everything else, it would be to mayor and disseminate. If that's not the case, and you guys want to change something, let me know, because that's my understanding now, is that, so if it's, you know, the contract from Miles and his partner Michelle, that was something that I shared with Vice Mayor, because it was part of the business roundtable and all that stuff, and I was under the assumption that was going to get shared to council. If it's different finance stuff, that's what it was with them. But like I said, if it's different, just let me know, and I'll make changes.
Chris, I think what you're doing is fine. I was to say to you, the maintenance worker, I think the one that went out was the community relations director. I saw that email come out. This one I wasn't as familiar with. Part of it is we get questions about the agenda when it comes out, and for us to say we have an email, we can explain it to you. I think sometimes for transparency's sake, if there's some sort of tee into these items, so if a member of the public's reading it, you know, they don't have the benefit of some of our emails. So I know it puts a lot of work on you, but if there's something where we know we might get questions, or even if it's taking the email and attaching it so a member of the public could read through it, if there's an efficient way to do that, that would be my recommendation, and maybe that sets the expectation coming into the council meeting, what's supposed to happen. So that's my suggestion for what it's worth.
Yeah, of course, FOIA restrictions always throw a kink into the situation, because we can disseminate the information, but we can't discuss it. And so make sure that the council members understand that. If you are disseminating, make sure you're not responding to anything.
Please don't look at this damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's just continuing to massage our expectations. So.
Okay, that takes care of that item. Next one, I need a nice verbal reading of, I guess we're going to go into the council member time before we go into closed session, or does members want to have their time after closed session?
Have you jumped over to PD?
No.
PD was first in line.
No, I mean, you jumped over the liaison reports?
That was part of the consent agenda.
The liaison report is consent? And I voted for that?
Consent.
You have a
I thought
question
you
for
took
one?
out the PD out
No,
of the consent.
Nobody asked for that.
No one asked.
You didn't ask.
Would
We
you
can
like
go
to
back and talk
request
about
that
it.
amendment to this? We can
I
see if
would
another
like to
council
take out
member would
the
like an
PD.
amendment.
Yeah, I would like to remove the PD, because I do have one item just to discuss with council that I think is
Is it
pertinent.
part of their report, or is it just something separate?
It's separate, sir.
I'll just bring it up.
Okay, so what I need is a council member to just amend the,
Move to amend the agenda to add the PD as item whatever.
do I have a second?
Item,
Okay, do we need to vote on that, parliamentary?
without objection, I think it's okay.
Without objection?
No objection.
Item
Okay.
7.4, I guess.
You got that, Kim? Okay,
Thank you, sir.
spin it up.
Council members, the mayor, the town manager, Greg Smith, and I reviewed all the applications for the chief of police and narrowed down the search to 6 individuals. Background investigations are currently in the process of being conducted, and we have been informed that there are no automatic disqualifications found, and town council can move forward with scheduling the interviews for the applicants. My question to you, the council and mayor, is how do we go about doing the interviews? All 3 in one day, estimating 2 hours for each applicant is 6 hours. I'm sure you struck that off already. 2 in one day, which is accommodates for 4 hours, and then 1 the next day, which is 2 hours, or 3 days in a row, 1 applicant each day, 2 hours each day.
So there's 6 candidates and 3 finalists?
The 3 final.
Let's, I think the town manager has some type of comment or recommendation.
That's just what I wanted to clarify, that it went from 6 interviewed down to 3 finalists.
Yes. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, can
Mr. Future Mayor.
acknowledge Joe, please?
Mr.
Okay,
Future Mayor.
Joe,
Go ahead and acknowledge him, Mr.
I
Mayor.
wanted to make sure the The floor was clean.
I just assume do it all in one day. I'm fine with 3 in one day, bang them out. 6 hours, I know it's tough, but I have a very stiff backside. I just want to make sure that the questions that we're looking to ask, and I'd like clarification on that. I'd like to, yes, Jake?
Sorry, if you're going to discuss the questions for the interview.
No, no, I'm just, what I was going to ask is that we have a structured, I'm assuming you went through a structured interview process.
Yes, sir.
I think it would be very helpful, at least from my perspective, that we had a structured interview process as well.
There is.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, it's to the point where there are some members that won't even have any questions. But yes, it will be structured.
Okay.
We're going to be provided with the background information
Yes, sir.
prior and qualifications and all the other reports.
As much as we can share, yes, sir.
All right, so I'll say it again. I'm okay doing it in one day if everybody can accommodate it, or I'll do whatever.
If we try to bust it out in one day, we probably need to start a little bit earlier than a normal meeting. Since it's a closed session, I don't think we have to cater to the public. I need to find out what.
Works for everybody's time constraints.
I don't mind doing it in one meeting. I would just suggest that anything beyond 2 hours, when you start getting into meetings like that, you lose focus after about 2 hours. Now, maybe by resetting with a new candidate, that won't be the case, but
There's a recency effect, too.
yeah.
When you do your comparisons.
Yeah.
Jake, maybe take a bathroom break. Yeah, so,
We're still live.
I know.
He's still gonna hear.
You know, one of the things that I noticed is when, in doing the interviews, I don't know if I can actually go for 6 hours doing the interviews, but what I can tell you is there are benefits to doing it all at once. Because you tend to forget what you heard, saw, witnessed the day before.
Recency effect.
So there are benefits in doing it, but it's not a decision that I can make or the town manager or the mayor can make on our own. It's something that all of us.
I can work through any of the scenarios. I'm just a little concerned about doing it with the 6, but if everybody thinks they can handle the march, and it'll be a 6-hour long march, okay.
Having that time frame is something that I feel I could commit to with structure. Yes,
6?
yes, yes.
And a lot of
And being
times,
present.
and a lot of times, you know, we're allocating 2 hours, but we could wipe this out with 1 hour for one person, which means we get an hour break, waiting for the next person to come in.
We want to start it at 2 o'clock?
Well, let's check the calendar first. I'm out
Yeah.
the week of the 18th. You're out till the
I'm out until the 20th.
20th.
I feel like we added one extra meeting for
Yeah, I think we'll probably
August.
have
Yes,
to roll
right?
this into September.
23rd.
Right.
I'm sorry. Did you say the
So
20th?
if you guys were to have an additional meeting in August, one of those wouldn't get paid for.
Well,
Because it's the 3 limit.
I'm not worried
Well-
about that. Could we, well, yeah. that's
I'm more concerned about the commitments in August that we've already committed to.
That's true.
That it seemed like it's best to push it for September.
I would concur with that.
We should have the background, sorry, Marcia, we should have the background report concluded next week. So that's another thing, that if we wait at least an additional week, we should have the full background reports and write-ups.
You want to pick a day for the first or second week of September? I've got no preference.
Do we risk losing these candidates waiting a month?
No, sir.
And also, you know, I've already gone through the interview process, so if you needed to do it before the 20th, I don't
Scratch
feel
that,
I would
sir.
be needed.
That's not acceptable. Next.
I don't think
I feel like we need to-
Okay.
So
To give my 2 cents
No,
worth, right?
no, sir. Good try,
But-
but no.
that's where I was going to say.
I also don't mind doing it the last week of August.
So we do have the work session on the 30th.
And we've got a work session on the 23rd, but I don't,
We're not gonna do it the same day as the work session.
No, we're not gonna do it
Well,
the same
and-
day as the work session, but
and-
there's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of that week.
And then the other thing Vice Mayor picked up on is Labor Day, so that September 6th is the holiday, so then that 7th is going to be the regular town council meeting.
I mean, I could live with the week of the 23rd, if anybody, unless somebody else has a, but not on the 23rd. Preferably not on the 24th either, but. What?
The 20th.
So I would suggest the 25th, 26th, or 27th, because I sort of share your concern about waiting that long and potentially losing one.
So let's go with overview of the town events for August. What's the first one?
Tomorrow.
14th, or, yeah.
So that's the third?
I can make that one.
It's in the emails.
Hold on, we have one on the 11th.
You know, that he
Well,
has to
it's a
wind
tone.
up the Jamaican computer and,
The 4th is the Haymarket Regional Food Pantry Tour.
Right.
That's tomorrow.
Third and the fourth.
But we're not doing it before we get the
Wednesday.
The
background
investigation,
checks
yeah.
anyway, so,
But the 11th, isn't that the police?
no.
I know I have something on the 11th.
14th.
When's the history walk?
are you being arraigned for something that we don't know about?
I was gonna say, I don't have anything on the 11th.
When is the self-defense class?
Maybe the 11th.
Yeah, I should have that down. Let me look at that real
Is that the ones that all council members are required to attend?
The 10th.
The 10th,
August 10th is
10th.
Y'all
self-defense.
wait. Y'all wait.
10th is, okay, so 3rd, 10th, which other date? What's the next one, 14th?
The 14th.
What?
16th is
That's also
BC?
the taser demonstration on the Long Street council members.
I'm out that week.
We gotta wait for him to come back.
And after that is the 23rd.
And then
I'm
the
gonna pretend,
20th
I'm
So,
So I would suggest
The 20th is the historic
Huh?
walk,
the
20th?
is the historic walk.
25th at 2.
25th works for me.
25th.
23rd is our meeting.
25th is ARB, possibly the replacement ARB meeting, right?
No, there's no 20,
Yui.
ARB is the 15th.
No,
So
it's,
that-
But due to scheduling conflicts and meeting the quorum, we are looking to reschedule for the 25th, but that would be at 7 p.m. We can pick a different day,
what's wrong with the 23rd?
Work session.
ARPA and strategic initiative meeting.
That's not important, we could, I'm just kidding, Mr. Mayor.
26th?
Tracy Lynn, 26th work for you?
Yes, I can make the 26th work.
26 works for me.
26th is a Thursday?
Payday.
And that would be at 2 p.m.?
Probably best to go ahead and start it early, yeah.
And 30th is work session.
Yes.
Do we have a master calendar here that we have all these things on?
The website.
We just can't see it from here. Well, you probably can if the door was open.
Thank God we put so many things in the month of August,
I'm
right?
fine.
Prime vacation month, right?
All right, so I've
Excuse
got,
me, are you whining, Mr. Mayor?
so I
No,
have the 26th that, starting at 2 p.m., and we'll reach out to the candidates to try and get that scheduled
Yeah,
so
because of
that
course
they're
it will be dependent on their
staggered.
availability on the 26th as well, correct?
Well, correct. So
Yeah,
we'll try and make it work. If some can meet early, some can meet late, we'll try and
That's not everything.
make that
I
work.
guess,
What I just wrote down a while ago?
I guess, are we gonna try and fill up the conference room then for it? Because, you know, there's too much activity that'll be happening around here unless we
If it
shut
was,
down
yes,
DMV
if
or
it was
something.
2 p.m., you guys would need to go upstairs.
Yeah.
You'll notice the meeting properly, correct? Okay.
And it would be 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8,
Potentially, yes.
potentially. Okay.
Apologize for stepping out. My nephew did propose.
That's not
She
important.
said yes.
That's
She
what,
said
that's
yes.
important.
She said yes.
Him proposing is not
Gender reveal
important.
was blue.
He said yes.
Hey, who updates the town calendar?
Which one? We got
The
it.
website,
Kind of falls on you.
Well, if we get the community relations person, it would be them. But right now, it's staff. So it's just whoever has, what Emily said, whoever has time.
Okay,
to
we're
try and
starting to
edit.
digress, guys. Let's get some order here and let's get moving on. Slap your guys on the hands. Okay. So we good? We want to move on then?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
well done, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yep. Now, like I said, we're still scheduled for council member time. We haven't added that discussion. Did you want to have that
I'll
afterwards?
save time, I have nothing to.
Do you want it afterwards or before?
You done?
I have nothing, I'm done.
Okay, pass.
I just want to say I'm very excited about the Business Roundtable. Thank you very much, August 10th. And then the Farmers Market National Night Out and Summer Concert. As much as I love the team building exercise of collecting trash, thank you so much for having somebody do that and keeping tabs on the receptacles. I do appreciate
You just didn't want to ruin another pair of shoes.
that. There you go.
That's right.
I gagged, got stung, so, we sort of intermittently acknowledge the officers tonight, but definitely encourage everyone to try to do the ride-alongs. I've tried to get scheduled on that again, supporting the police department. I think we did a great job on acknowledging, Anderson's efforts, so that's all I have, thanks.
And Chris?
Madam Vice Mayor, the August 10th meeting is not on the calendar, just so you know. The only thing I have is carried to full term, Jazz on the Lawn fundraising event, September 25th at 6 p.m. I think what we're doing is trying to reach out more to these organizations that's in town, just to promote them from the podium, the events that they have coming up. So I'll be able to mention this again in our September meeting, but for now it's September 25th. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And I'll step down. I guess one thing to note that I will not be having my walk this weekend.
What? The
I'll
one
be on
time I
vacation.
decided to come.
So we'll move on to the next agenda item. No, please, we need a reader.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council convene in a closed session to discuss the following. As permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1, a personnel matter involving assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town, specifically dealing with the Planning Commission vacancy. And as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A3, a matter involving acquisition of real property for public purposes, specifically involving 14600 Washington Street, where discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the town's bargaining position, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel or briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to the pending case of Town of Haymarket v. Bean, where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the town, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A8, consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel relating to proffers.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor of going into session?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Yep.
Mr. Mayor?
Before
Okay, let's start this meeting back up.
Mayor, I move the council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed in a closed session under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as cited in that motion.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second.
Weir,
Aye.
Casanello,
Aye.
Hager,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we appoint Robert H. Chrisman of 6855 Track Court, Haymarket, Virginia, to the vacant position on the Planning Commission with a term that runs through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and second.
Weir,
Aye.
Martinello,
Aye.
Vader,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more motion. I would move that we have the town manager enter into a contract with Wright Realty, Inc. regarding an appraisal of 14600 Washington Street in an amount not to exceed $5,500, with the funds to come from line 811003, the consulting line item.
Second.
Got a motion and second.
Weir,
Aye.
Martinello,
Yes.
Vader,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Okay,
Who wants
who's
to
gonna
do it?
jump? Who's going to jump?
Vice Mayor.
Oh, I motion to dismiss.
Adjourn.
Adjourn, thank you.
Who's seconding that?
Well, it doesn't matter. Second.
Aye.
Thank you.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.